What's up, YouTube? Extra Time, June 17, 2019. I'm broken, but we're still doing this thing. Tim Howard, the man, the myth, the legend, sat down right here in these studios to talk about the state of the U.S. national team, his career, and everything in between. It's a must listen, but the Gold Cup started.
Yeah,
so.
It's not just all U.S. My maple syrup runneth over. Oh, Canada, they're out, and they're flowing, and the dab god dropping it on Bermuda. Let's go Gold Cup.
More Rabonas in the Gold Cup.
You are broken physically. I am broken spiritually because we just need to get pressure to the damn ball in central midfield. The guys from Total Soccer Show, they're here to help us sort it out.
And these two almost fight at the end. Extra Time starts now. Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer. Clank your crutches, everyone. Matt Doyle, Dave Goss.
I don't even think your
First
ankle's
KD,
broken.
then Klay Thompson, now me.
I'm
me.
gonna put my money where my mouth is and say I don't even think it's broken. I think this is all an attention grab.
Wow.
I think it's broken. I definitely don't think it happened during basketball.
I did break
Pick up
I broke
basketball,
my ankle playing basketball.
Getting off the toilet.
Actually, that would be such a good story that if you think I would not milk that for this podcast, then you don't know me well enough.
You don't, Doyle, because he would milk anything.
That's true.
We're in the process.
He
of
is officially
floating in milk.
the oldest person
That's
on the
fair.
podcast.
I've aged by what, 25 years now, so I
At
passed
least.
you? Yep,
Yeah.
got you. So, yeah, Thursday night.
Just past.
Playing basketball, came down on a foot, broke my ankle. I am the latest on the DL, but I'm still found a way in here somehow, some way. We'll see if I make you do Thursday's show on your own, Dave. I was in the East Village, Lower East Side this weekend, met an Extra Time fan. He asked me, did you do that playing soccer? And I had to say, no, basketball. And I felt a little bit shameful
You
about
did your
it.
ankle a few years ago playing soccer.
Playing soccer.
And
so
your back.
You have equity.
And
so
your hip.
and my head.
Hey,
I
I take blame for that. I broke Weeby's ankles.
No, you did that.
No.
All right, look, we got a big show.
I have.
Please. If Bobby was here,
There's
if Bob-
nothing wider on the planet
Wow.
than the space between Weeby's legs when you're going for a May. I swear.
If Bobby was here, he would break all of our ankles for this never-ending bit. Let's talk some soccer. Total Soccer
Bonjour,
Show
Bobby. You
is
know
going to be
Bobby's
here.
going to listen to the show
You
and
think
send
so?
us notes later.
No chance.
Hey,
Not
I was
from
just
France.
sitting in a cafe in Paris. Thought I'd just throw on the show. Want to stay in the loop.
He's probably writing columns. You can see those at MLSsoccer.com. I don't doubt him there. Total Soccer Show is going to be here in just a little bit to talk U.S. national team. U.S. Guyana kicking off the Gold Cup in Group D on Tuesday. So check that one out. FS1, 10 p.m. Eastern, Club and Country, pregame and postgame shows as there are for every single U.S. game in this tournament. Myself, Doyle, not Bobby. Kaylin is definitely going to be here. I don't know. We've got a rotating crew that will roll through and do that. We'll talk to them. We've got Tim Howard, an exclusive sit-down right here in the AT&T MLS studios with Tim, so that should be really good as well. And we're talking U.S. Open Cup and hitting the mail. But before we get to Gold Cup, Nico Lodero couldn't go to the World Cup. Didn't need him in the World Cup, did Uruguay. Then they're starting him at the 10 below Cavani and Suarez, and he's scoring like sombrero goals.
More
of
it
an
actually was a
inverted
left
left
mid.
wing.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, whatever.
Come on,
you
Weeby.
know, hey.
It's embarrassing. It was awesome. It was an epic goal.
It was and it wasn't just the goal, right? He had an assist as well. He created multiple chances. Like he kind of ran that game.
Now they were man up after the 30th minute.
It's fair.
So it's a good game for Nicolas Lodero to run. No, I'm
Right,
just
yeah.
saying, without him, Uruguay doesn't have a piece that does that. So it was perfect for him.
Yeah.
And now he's going to stay in the lineup, and I think they're one of the favorites to win the tournament.
Miguel Miron and Paraguay doing their thing. They drew 2-2 with Qatar, and Miguel shed some tears afterwards. It was a tough one. He also did the fusion celebration, which I don't know how Joseph Martinez feels about
Joseph
that.
knows. Oscar Cardozo's a legend.
Yeah, yeah, but
okay.
still, it's tough. It's tough. Okay, before we get to Total Soccer Show and the U.S., Gold Cup's rolling on. Love the tournament. One of the most mind-boggling tournaments in the world, but also has some really special moments. Oriol Antuna wasn't even on the Mexico team. Then they had an injury. Then he scored a hat trick, and now he's, part of the story. LA Galaxy, baby. Sign the right guy on loan. Get some good publicity. That's what's up. Yeah, Mexico are the favorites, and they're favored in 7-0 versus Cuba.
Versus Cuba. I think versus Cuba is doing a lot of the lifting in this story.
I had to do the preview of Cuba last week.
How'd that go for you?
I was accurate. Let's just say that.
They were kind of overwhelmed. I mean, credit to Oriol Antuna for being on his toes, especially on that first goal, and being in the right spots.
AKA in the lineup against Cuba.
Yeah. Galaxy fans might be wondering why that's not showing up necessarily in MLS play, but Tata was happy with it. The kid himself said afterwards, "I feel perfect," which why not? You had a hat trick in
at the Rose Bowl.
At the Rose Bowl, and the first official game that you played for the team. It was a good moment for him. And, Mexico looked like they were playing Cuba.
Now they have to play Canada. Canada knocked off Martinique 4-0. Jonathan David, the truth, 19 years old. I think he's going to be one of the stories of this tournament. Maybe Canada will too.
Oh, Wiebe, after he scored 2 goals, you think he's going to be
before he scored 2 goals in my column that you say that I cribbed off you, I said he was the next Alphonso Davies. So step back.
I don't read your column.
Different kind of play.
That's why I'm educating you right now. Yeah, but they're going to stand out. God, this is like I break my ankle. I'm just getting teamed up on. This is like
so the next
tag team
Alphonso
right now.
Davies, and that you think he's going to win the
that he could win the Golden Boot, and then he's going to be maybe the story of the tournament.
He had a fantastic year in Belgium. He's a guy just 19 who bigger clubs in bigger leagues than Belgium are going to be moving for him real soon. I was just scrolling through transfer market. I think they already have him at like $8 or $9 million, and that's only going to go up. He looks really good. The Canadian attack looks really, really good, even though they played without a true center forward, unless you consider David to be one, which I kind of don't. This team is built to score goals. They also looked like they were built to give up goals.
Yeah.
Atiba, Mark-Anthony Kaye on the back line together.
Godinho at right back had some really ugly moments in defense. He looked okay.
Scotland.
Yeah, he's 20 years old. He looked okay in possession, but that's not the part that they're really worrying about. I would be shocked if Atiba Hutchinson starts at center back against Mexico because you're taking off your best center mid out of position to put him. He's not your best center mid? Who's your best center mid?
I think it's Mark-Anthony Kaye at this point.
No, I'm not going to go there because he's never done it at the international level.
Okay.
And then you're moving him to a position not where he's not as good. He's like probably not good as a center back. Like he was slow in terms of reacting to moments.
Footwork was terrible.
His body shape was wrong. A lot of times he stepped into midfield at the wrong time. They gave up a lot of chances against Martinique. Like Kevin Parsimane, shout out Kevin Parsimane, had like
Founders
4
legend.
or 5 really good looks and couldn't put them away. So all of the question marks coming into the tournament weren't solved in this one. It would be great if Daniel Henry was healthy. That would be a huge plus for them. They started Mark-Anthony Kaye at left back. I think that was the wrong move because I thought Davies could use that space better. And in the game, he still played well, but he could have been even better if he was out there. And now the question mark becomes, okay, you play Mexico. You're probably going to play Cavallani because you need someone with some size to hold the ball up. Who starts? You've got Holet, you've got David, you've got Alphonso Davies, and Jonathan David. Only probably 2 of them are going to get a start.
Big question for John Herdman. We'll see what happens. Jimmy Marin, he's not going to play for Costa Rica. He was on the squad. He's one of their best players. He's 21 years old. He skipped out to go where, Dave? Israel, too.
Yeah, you have this written incorrectly. That's why you said it wrong. You asked me in the pre-show.
I said
Hapoel Beersheva, which would be a Cypriot team. It's Hapoel Beersheva.
Gotcha. So he just dipped out, and now they have 22 players left for the whole tournament. Didn't matter. They handled business in San Jose against Nicaragua. Nicaragua, by the way, has never won a Gold Cup game, so that was expected.
Yeah, but my guy Byron Bonilla, I got you.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good.
Showing off, baby.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Let
Meanwhile,
people know.
Jamaica, Honduras tonight in Group C in Kingston. We don't know if this is a real quote.
Wait.
What?
You're just going to skip over?
Yeah,
Franny Perot, Northeastern, not graduate because he transferred, but go Huskies. 2 goals against Bermuda. Shout out to Bermuda. They got their first Gold Cup
Colorado
goal.
Rapids draft pick.
Yep.
He signed in Belgium instead. He's had a decent year and a half there. Haiti's fun, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and
he's
also
like
a guy
big,
named Derek
powerful,
Etienne.
strong, good in the box.
What'd you guys think of that play for Derek Etienne?
Oh, Derek Etienne, how many
And the
how many
Oscar goes
Rabonas
to-
can go to Derek Etienne? And then at the end, what was the final stoppage time? Was that a
He tried to flick it over someone's head down the sideline. Yeah.
While they're killing time
But
up
they-
2-1
but-
with a game they have to win.
Everyone out there, if you
Beautiful.
haven't seen the goal, watch their first goal. They ran a fake play where they pretended to get in a fight over a free kick.
Yeah, that was good too.
And then the guy took it, and it was a beautiful.
Somebody signed Pero. Probably can't now. Probably too expensive. Jamaica, Honduras, and Kingston on this Monday night. We don't know if this quote is true. Theodore Whitmore might have said this. He might not have said this. Island Sports Network, who has, 52 followers, Doyle?
Last I checked.
They have photos of him, but they don't have video of him saying that after back-to-back finals, this Gold Cup is a must-win for Jamaica. Somehow I don't think Theodore Whitmore said that.
I'm not gonna go that far. This is the only outlet reporting it, but you understand if he did say it, why he would, given it's the last 2 finals and given the varying states of disarray that Mexico, U.S., Costa Rica, Honduras are all in right now. I think Canada are better in attack than Jamaica, but Jamaica's much better in defense, and Canada have like a longer timeline. Jamaica, it feels like it's now or never. So if he did say this, and I'm gonna trust Island Sports Network, and I'm gonna say I think he did. I respect it. It's bold, and it puts the right kind of pressure on the team and the players. And they have a match winner in goal in Andre Blake. They have Kamar Lawrence and Hector, match winners in defense or central midfield, wherever they want to play Hector. And then now in Leon Bailey, they finally have a match winner in attack. This Jamaica team should be fun.
They take on Honduras in Jamaica at the National Stadium. Honduras will not have Andy Nahar. He had an injury, had to go home early. So that's a bummer for those of us that want to see Andy play in this tournament and want to relive all those DC United days. U.S., though, get it started on Tuesday. We're going to talk to the Total Soccer Show's Daryl Grove and Taylor Rockwell, who, if you listen to this show, I'm guessing you might listen to their show. It's going to be the collabo you've been waiting for a long time.
They definitely have better SEO.
Do you think? Yeah, no, they obviously won that battle. But we'll see. The news for the U.S., no Dwayne Holmes. He re-aggravated the left quad strain that he had at the end of the season with Derby, which sounds familiar when you think about Tyler Adams. Georgie replaces him. Mihailovic is into the squad. Guyana, 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Allianz Field on Tuesday, pre- and post-game shows, Club and Country. We'll be talking about it. What do you want to see? What do we need to see? What sort of 11 should be run out there?
I think it's going to be something close to what Berhalter considers to be his first 11. The only exception might be Jossie starting instead of Josie, because you want to limit Josie's number or minutes as much as possible over the course of these summer tournaments, because we know he never makes it through one of these.
I didn't really think about that in the sense that, like, I was kind of like, jazzed up to be like, oh, Gold Cup starting, play the first team. But you're right. No, don't do that.
Don't do
Save
that.
Josie, ease him in, give him like 2 goals in the last 20 and call it good.
So I would expect a little bit of rotation with that. I do want to see, Nick Lima playing as an actual right back. I do want to see Michael Bradley in there.
Would you rather see Tim Ream or Daniel Lovitz? Because it seems like that's
Daniel Lovitz.
That's the.
I'm sorry, man. Tim Ream, like, I know he's a Premier League veteran. He has had so many chances to prove that he can do the job at this level, and I don't think even once. He's looked the part, and it's happened not just against really good teams from around the world. It's happened in crucial qualifiers. It's happened against minnows. I don't think Daniel Lovitz is the best left back in the world, but Tim Ream, at some point, you rule yourself out.
Yeah, I would say on top of that, I don't think Long's ready, so I would see Zimmerman and Matt Miazga as center backs in this one. Not the ideal pairing, but that's what you're going to get. And you talked about Lima at right back. I think it's pretty simple, and it's probably Pulisic and McKinney and the 2 10s, the 2 8s, whatever it is, he's going to call them with Bradley behind them. And I think Boyd's probably earned a spot on one of the wings if Jordan Morris isn't fully healthy to start, and then Areola on the other.
I actually think Boyd is the player in this game on the wing over Morris, because Guyana, no disrespect to the Golden Jaguars, but they're not going to be pushing forward. They're not going to leave space in behind, and we haven't seen Jordan Morris really be able to take players one-on-one or to combine or to play in those spaces to break them down. Whereas I think, honestly, we don't really know from Tyler Boyd in a lot of ways with this team, so we might as well find out in the game.
I think they know.
Oh,
I thought it was Fenerbahce.
Yeah, one of the big 3. I think it's Finner. Saying €1 million perhaps for our own Tyler Boyd. He's ours now, New Zealand. He's ours.
Yeah, he's ours now, and he needs to show something, like you guys were just saying. Like, we don't have a lot of wingers in this pool who eliminate defenders 1v1 and then complete plays. It's one of the things I think we all need to see this month in the Gold Cup from the U.S.
All right, it's time now for AT&T Call to the Field, all the way to Richmond and the Total Soccer Show headquarters. Daryl Grove, Taylor Rockwell standing by. Boys, what's up? Thank you. This is the collaboration that I've wanted for so long. You beat us on SEO, but I still like you, okay? I still like you.
Thank you.
I got to tell you
for that enthusiastic greeting from Richmond. I think that's the most excited someone's been to talk about Richmond in a while. So thanks for that.
This looks a lot more like a AT&T call to the panic room. This is the studio that we're seeing here. Are you guys in need of help? Blink 3 times if you are.
This is our Gold Cup panic room.
I love the table. I love, I think they got us beat on the table, but it's time to talk U.S. soccer. No Dwayne Holmes, we talked about that. No VAR, we talked about that. No idea what to expect in this tournament, guys, to be honest with you. And Andy from Chicago hit us up and said he's annoyed at all the pre-Gold Cup journalism, which consistently states this tournament is meaningless for the U.S., given our recent failure to qualify for the World Cup and our inability to win any other tournament that would be considered, quote, meaningful. I would argue the Gold Cup is incredibly important. We need to show up. The arrogance of the U.S. is founded on zero success and partially the reason why we failed to show up in Trinidad and Tobago. So my question for you, via Andy from Chicago, guys, how much does this actually matter? We make a big deal about every single game the U.S. plays, and sometimes people say, oh, calm down, it's no big deal, it's a friendly, but this is the Gold Cup. How much should we care?
I mean, first of all, it's made of gold, right? So that's a positive. But I think for me, this is Greg Berhalter's first big test, right? Like the friendlies were just friendlies, no matter whether we beat Panama's B team or lost to Jamaica. This is the first time where we'll see Berhalter. He's had a couple of weeks. He's had the guys in camp, and points are on the line, and we'll see how that goes in the tournament. And then, in my opinion, then we can start making real judgments about does this system work.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important.
I'd agree with that, because for me, a lot of my frustration has been like, oh, we're building to something. We're working towards something. We want to get everybody on the same page. And at a certain point, that's no longer a valid excuse. You've got to have everybody on the same page. And
we're trying to get people fit.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think once you have an official competition that you ideally should be winning, or at least in the final, then sort of those excuses have to go out the window, like necessarily. And so then it sort of brings about what is going to be this best team, and how is it going to be that the United States can find their way through to the final if they can. And so I think that is what makes me excited, because you have Berhalter with the squad that he more or less wanted, minus a few names that I've got here. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's kind of like this squad of American players and how far can they go. And I think that makes it a very exciting thing.
And here's the other thing. Everybody's down on the US men's national team right now, right? So if they have a good performance in the Gold Cup and they win the Gold Cup, people can start being positive about the national team again. We can start enjoying watching them again. So almost from a US Soccer Federation PR perspective, the Gold Cup is huge.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that. I do want to go back to what you said, Taylor. Like, at some point, those excuses stop being valid, or like the results start meaning more than the process itself. Aren't we, like, isn't this very early in the whole process to actually be at that point? Especially because Adams is out, especially because if you look at the year Weston McKennie just had, you don't know who he is, especially because with Weah and Pomykal, we have probably two starters who we said, you know what, play in the youth tournament instead. John Brooks, DeAndre Yedlin, two of our
Did this start as a question?
best players. No, it's like for sure. I'm just trying to add context to it. Like, are we there yet, or are we not jumping the gun if we end up running around like our hair's on fire after perhaps another pair or three of bad performances?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely a fair question. I think
it was a long question too.
It's like it kind of, to me, it gets like the frustrating reality of U.S. soccer right now, which is that you're absolutely right, that if this were a normal situation, new manager coming in, has only been there since January, yeah, it's premature. It's premature to expect things to be running at 100% tip-top efficiency. But the reality is that because of the kind of delay in getting Berhalter appointed, the delay in sort of, I guess, kind of soothing the anxiety of American fans, I think U.S. soccer has left themselves in a situation where there is heightened pressure on this team right now to make something happen. So I don't think it's necessarily fair, and you're right that it's probably premature, especially given the injuries and where some players have been this summer. But I think it is the reality and reflective of where the fandom is, that like they want to see that things seem to be moving in the right direction. And for me, it's kind of hard to point to some of the recent friendlies and say, but see, look, things are sort of getting better because people are maybe playing in the right positions now.
I'd also argue that six games and this longish camp before the Gold Cup is enough time to implement a style of play and a system, at least to the level where you can like make an impressive showing at the Gold Cup, right? It should be enough to beat Guyana. It should be enough to get results against Panama and Trinidad, right? So I agree with Matt that we can't expect the Berhalter whole thing to be at 100% and tip-top condition, but it should be like 70% and good enough to beat some teams, and that's the big test, right? Because people aren't convinced right now that that's what's going to happen.
that goes back to our place in CONCACAF and where we stand. We always just assumed it's us and Mexico. Either we're on top or they're on top. And recently it's been them. And it goes to what you guys are saying about PR. I kind of think with where the U.S. is right now, with the lack of names, unless we go out and just run roughshod over CONCACAF, over the rest of the field other than Mexico and win this thing, casual fans won't care. They won't. They won't. If it's like a workmanlike performance to get to the final and we knock off someone other than Mexico, or we knock off Mexico and it's ugly, it's not going to make headlines.
We can only play Mexico in the finals.
Okay.
The conversation there is, do we win it or not win it?
Okay, that's fine.
Because I agree with you in that there is no name in this tournament, because you don't have guest teams, that is big enough for the average sports fan across the landscape to really pick up on it outside of Mexico, which puts them in a tough spot, which is you have to win it or you don't. And otherwise, we will take things from it in terms of nerding out and seeing tactics and seeing, as Daryl said, how far along the system is and how guys fit in. But I think the average fan, if they don't win this, it won't register.
My point is the average fan right now isn't thinking about the U.S. I don't think. I think the average U.S. soccer fan is, but the average soccer fan in America, it's all in on the women right now for obvious, clear reasons, as it very well should be. But I'm just not sure that the U.S. can do anything in this tournament unless Pulisic goes off and goes crazy that does much for their PR beyond like winning it big time. And even then, that might be the only blip. Should we stick with the system that we're talking about right now, that hybrid right back system, guys? Should Berhalter go away for this without Tyler Adams? Should everything change? Because that's part of what they built up to, right?
I think, from what I understand from what Berhalter has said, is like he's going to do it on a game-by-game basis, right? So it's not always going to be the hybrid right-back system. We saw against, was it Venezuela in the second half, or was it Jamaica? I can't remember. Nick Lima basically went outside a lot, right? He just became a more like vertical attacking right-back. So I'm excited to see it in action, but I don't think it's going to be the only thing that we do, especially if Reggie Cannon plays, right? Reggie Cannon is basically going to be a straight up and down right back. He's not going to be wandering into midfield.
Yeah, I think your points are valid. That I do think most, like, unless they're diehard U.S. soccer fans, most fans maybe aren't going to be as interested in the U.S. men's national team right now, or at least not in the group stage. And I think one way that maybe you can change that is for people, when they do tune in, if they tune in, is to have the team looking like they know what they're doing and they know what they're supposed to be. And so I guess I kind of, with that in mind, hope that they stick with the right back experiment, because it does feel like a thing that Nick Lima has been able to do. He did it in January, admittedly against weaker opposition, but then again, Guyana. So, balance that one. So I feel like if you have a person tuning in and Nick Lima is doing that thing that seems to be working, and maybe Michael Bradley is back, that's a different can of worms, I suppose. But like, I think if you can get the team looking like they're playing cohesive, consistent soccer, that is sort of a bar that we haven't attained in a good long while. So I feel like that in and of itself is progress, and that might be enough to maybe get a few more people back on board.
And here's another thing. I feel like the soccer gods are telling Greg Berhalter, play Nick Lima at right back, right? With the Tyler Adams injury, and because he did so well in January. And maybe there's a thing where Nick Lima does so well in this right back hybrid midfield role that obviously Tyler Adams will almost certainly be selected, right, when he comes back.
Yep.
Maybe this is what pushes Tyler Adams into that more sort of get after them midfield role that I know Matt would like to see, right? Because you've talked a lot about how there's not enough bite in midfield.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get Tyler Adams biting in midfield, Nick Lima doing his thing at right back.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces here, and I feel like in all the discussion of the system with air quotes and like a trademark after it and asterisk, whatever you want to put around it, like it's almost putting the cart before the horse, because there's no equation, there's no way to make it all work. No matter how clever it is in modern soccer, there's no way to make it all work if you don't get pressure to the ball in central midfield. And what we saw the last two games, the last two friendlies, and I think for big parts of that friendly against Chile, was we couldn't get pressure to the ball in central midfield. So take your system and like tweak it and do whatever you want with it, or throw it in the trash. It doesn't matter if you don't get it right defensively. And the U.S., the last two games, did not get it right defensively, and that's really frustrating, especially for two reasons. I mean, it feels like we just flushed 2018 down the trash when we could and should have been using that to at least work on the basics. So that's one. And two is, like, you look at what Tata's done with Mexico. They have done zero clever or counterintuitive or fancy things in the however many games that he's been managing that team. They've just started off with a really solid 4-3-3, and he's going to add bells and whistles as he goes. And it feels like...
But he has a core that the U.S. is nowhere near.
Right now, I agree.
Hector Moreno and Diego Reyes, if we had those two players, it would be in a different echelon of what we're at.
So Doyle wants pressure in the midfield. I hear you, Doyle.
Are you kidding me?
I don't think that that's necessarily where the problem is. Like, Diego Reyes played as a 6 the other day. Like,
No,
he's not
I'm just
really
saying, like, experienced players
For sure.
who are good and have experience.
for sure. But
you know Omar made the roster though.
Yeah, I
so
knew
we're
you were.
fine.
I knew someone was going to say Omar. I was about to say not including Omar.
I don't think the problem is experience with this U.S. national team. I think is like we're trying to do like advanced calculus before we've mastered addition. You have to get pressure to the ball in central midfield. You can't be easy to play against. And if you look at these last 2 games, and if you go all the way back to Cuba, the U.S. didn't get pressure to the ball in central midfield, and we became easy to play against.
All right, boys.
Can I throw one little quick thing in there?
I bet.
Okay. So 2002 Gold Cup, which came in January before the 2002 World Cup when Landon Donovan and DeMarcus Beasley broke through. There was 5 players on that roster that were 25 or under. There are 12 on this roster that are 25 on under. That roster, 27 years old and older, 15 players. So this team is completely different than what we've seen in the past. There is no experience. That's what I'm trying to say. You've got Josie and Bradley who are in for the first time, but there is no experience in this team. And you've got young players in the blind leading the blind. So I agree with what you're saying. Maybe you're going too far advanced, but you can't say experience is not part of the issue because it's a major part of the problem.
Wasn't for the 1999 Confederations Cup. The U.S. played in that one in Mexico, lost 1-0 to Brazil, beat Germany with a very inexperienced team. You know what was great about that team?
What?
Got pressure to the ball in central midfield, David.
So, go to the
75 years
Smithsonian.
ago.
There are some,
and it
some
was
chiselings that you can watch the highlights from that game
it
in
was
99.
at this point in the cycle too. So what I just want to see from this Gold Cup is, first of all, no more injuries, for the love of God, no more injuries, and 2, just show me a defensive structure that works. And then, from there, we go to the system.
No more injuries. No more injuries. Guys, he wants pressure in the midfield on the ball. I get that. What do you want to see? Total Soccer Show?
Actually, the last thing Doyle said is what I want to see. It genuinely is what I have in my notes. Is like, I don't want to see the United States go out and beat Guyana 4-0, but it's because Christian Pulisic dribbled through a bunch of people, or there was a great individual moment and Josie Altidore did something exceptional. Like I want to see.
Those things sound good though.
I mean, it does, but it also
sound
sounds very individual.
I see.
And I would like to see not winning, because that's what it is for me. A lot of times with the Gold Cup is it's the group stage. We should get past that. I think it's tougher this time around, but generally it tends to be easier through the group stage. Knockout round is where it gets theoretically harder, and then maybe in the final it gets you're playing Mexico, and that's the hardest. But I think
teamwork, right? Teamwork's important.
Exactly. But I think the way that you can sort of gauge the progress that's being made, and how I'm going to be watching, is to see, are they playing as a unit? Is there pressure in the midfield? Are there kind of outlets for passes a little bit faster than we've seen recently? And I think if you can start to see the patterns and the repetitions and players being familiar with the system, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see great individual highlight moments, as wonderful as those would be, because to me, that's sort of what we've always relied upon, is individual moments to beat inferior opposition, or theoretically inferior opposition, and then against tougher teams, we crumble a little bit.
And here's my question, Matt, when you talk about pressure to the ball, how do you feel about the midfield when we're in that sort of 4-4-2 defensive shape, right? It's probably going to be Bradley and McKennie. Do you have faith in those guys to get pressure to the ball? No.
I think Michael knows how to do it, but he's lost a step and a half over the last few years, and he's just slow to too many challenges. And Weston, he has the tools for it, but he's played all over the place for Schalke. And granted, he's played in a system that has mostly been about getting pressure to the ball, but it's a very different calculus to do that when you're playing right back one day and then a second forward the next day and then a left wing back. And so he's done so many different things in the last 18 months that he doesn't really look natural at anything. And then you combine that with the 4-4-2 defensive shape that Berhalter likes to use, is a mid or even low block at times. And there are very specific triggers for that the guys don't seem to recognize and work well together. So I'm not in a great place right now, guys.
Well, then I'm gonna help you double down on that negativity.
Oh, great. Thanks, Taylor.
Well, because this is a thing that like my pleasure. This is a thing that I wonder, like from like our team that we like kind of manage and coach when things don't go well, like how do you adjust it? But also like our local team here in Richmond is having some struggles as well.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is like, at what point do you think that is like the coach not conveying the message properly versus maybe the players just not quite being attuned to what's being asked of them or understanding their responsibilities? Like, that's what I struggle with is like, is this the case of like what Berhalter wants to do is too complex and it just needs to be really simple?
Yeah, because we saw that. I can't remember which friendly it was. It might have been Chile, but it was McKennie and Morris were just completely confused about who should be switching and who should be where. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's my question is like, do you think it is, I guess it's a big question, but like, do you think that is Berhalter not being able to like effectively communicate what he wants in the moment, or is that the players not picking up like what they've been asked to do?
I think it's starting with something that's too complex and not mastering the simple stuff first.
By the way, that is what Greg said in not those exact words on this show last week. He said we introduced sort of the deeper stuff too early.
Yep.
We should have gone over the top. Here's the basic philosophy. Here's what you need to know. This is the law, so to speak, by which we operate. And below it are the bylaws. Yeah, he had much more.
He said the principles of play and then how
More
you
of a set of
handle-
guidelines.
Right. He said the principles of play, and then on top of that, you have how you handle each situation inside of that. He's like, we should have just grounded in the principles of play so far, the basis of who we are, before we start to talk specifically about, I guess he described it as the 12 phases of play. So like you guys said, he was trying to specifically tell when to switch, when to be in possession, where to go, rather than just say, this is who we are, and then our players can figure out what to do within that framework for now before we get extremely specific about the exact movements and motions that we need throughout the 90 minutes.
And Gasman, you felt like you saw some of that against Venezuela.
Yeah, I did. And Daryl mentioned like the switch to send Nick Lima down the wing. Greg Berhalter said, I want to see more overloads, and I thought it was effective. So he watched one game. He saw his group. He made an adjustment to the second game, and it improved. There were the big moments that they lost against Venezuela, and it was a 3-0 loss. Those were bad. Those are not good. But he said, in watching tape, I saw things that I liked in Jamaica. I made adjustments, and I saw more things that I liked against Venezuela. He said Areola and Boyd getting behind the line he thought was fantastic. They just didn't find those runners. It's going to be easier against Guyana to find those runners.
Total Soccer Show, we have one more question for you. We got to let you go. We should do this more often, though. This has been a joy. At Total Soccer Show
don't oversell
on
it.
Twitter. If you search soccer podcast, I'm sure they will be the first ones to come up.
Didn't y'all try to get rid of Bobby Warshaw to us on one episode? I'm pretty sure you tried to trade him for some TAM or something like that.
Who's Bobby Warshaw?
That was on Signal, man. I thought that was all between us. Didn't think there were going to be any links in this system.
You guys have exposed your sources.
Exactly. So before we let you go, though, go download the pod. Go listen to these guys. They do some great stuff. Their Women's World Cup preview was magnificent. It got me ready for the tournament. I want to know this. We all want the U.S. to win, or at least the supporters do, and certainly that's what U.S. supporters and fans want, of which I guess I would count myself among. How does it happen if they do it? What has to happen? And it's not just, obviously, like you said, Taylor, Pulisic going crazy or Josie having a couple of big moments. What'll be those ingrained things that'll get them there?
Maybe it's what David was talking about, where if Berhalter has gone back to the basics, maybe, and to Matt's point, maybe they have just been learning some addition instead of some calculus over the past week or so, right? And maybe the simple math is give the ball to Tyler Boyd and he'll go at people down the right wing, like some simple math like that. So maybe it will be a return to basics will be the thing that will see us through.
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with that too, because I mean, you look at how effective Paul Arriola has been for the national team in the past versus how poor he looked in these two most recent friendlies, and I do wonder if some of that comes down to how much he's being asked to do, how much he's trying to think in the moment versus kind of playing more instinctively. And I think that if it does kind of get stripped down, boiled down to a more simplistic version of the national team, I think that does benefit the team because, I mean, these are seasoned pros. They're professional soccer players. They're not amateurs coming in and don't know what to do. So I think if you make it a simpler message with put pressure in the middle and here's how we're going to do it, but then there's not 15 other things like subcategory A that you also have to remember, I think that probably helps them play a little bit better. And then I do think that having Pulisic back probably brings a little bit of veteran, such as he is, veteran leadership and that sort of been here before, been in bigger moments before, kind of that kind of like steal that maybe you need, that maybe the team has been missing. So I think that will definitely be a huge part of it as well.
Plus, a healthy Josie Altidore in a tournament. I feel like we never ever get to see
Knock
it.
on your wood table right now.
Yeah.
Knock on your wood grain table right now. You're jinxing it,
Yeah,
man.
I'm going to knock on the table and massage Josie's hamstrings. Keep it nice and loose.
One word before we let you go, guys. Did the U.S. win or no?
Against Guyana?
Well done. Good try. The whole shebang, Daryl.
Yes. I'm naturally optimistic, but yes.
Okay.
Daryl's the guy who, when the United States was playing in the Copa America Centenario, was waving the U.S. flag when they were playing against Argentina. I will be the one to be a little bit more realistic and say, no, I think it's probably going to be Mexico. I think even though they've got their own issues, they've got their own stuff that they're trying to figure out, I still think they have the talent and the kind of chemistry and consistency to get the result. But I would happily take a strong game against Mexico in the final, maybe with a win, but just getting there. And I feel like playing consistent soccer and giving me a feeling that like I know what the United States is trying to do, because right now you could tell me we're going to play 3 different styles of right back and I would believe all of them. I would like to be able to say like, no, we're doing this and I know we're doing this, and that's what I want.
Ironically, that wasn't good enough for Bob Bradley in 2011, right? The US went through the tournament, lost the final, and he was out. Maybe that'll be good enough for Greg Berhalter.
I expect it probably will be. This has been a great jump off. Total Soccer Show
Before
plus
we let
extra
them
time.
go,
Collabo.
I wanted you guys to experience this with me. Doyle tried to outflank me. There was 2 players on that 1999 team below the age of 24.
Whoa.
But how many below like 10 caps?
Get out of my face,
Matt
Doyle.
McCune
Stop
started
trying to
against
change the
Germany.
On that note,
Don't
Daryl
even know
Taylor,
who Matt McCune is.
thank
This
you
is
so
what I
much
deal
for
with.
joining us. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you very
guys. We
soon,
appreciate
guys.
it.
All right, that was fun. We should do that more often with the Total Soccer Show. If you have ideas on how to collaborate with them, let us know. In the meantime, here is an exclusive interview with Tim Howard, getting his thoughts on the state of the U.S. national team and his career. Tim Howard on Extra Time. Tim, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning, man. Yeah. Tim Mulqueen. This is a name that I always think about when I think about Tim Howard.
Yes.
Let's go way back. Not to the Metro Stars, not to the Imperials. Day one, the day you met Tim Mulqueen, the day he saw you and recognized something special.
So we had this, it was, 1989. He had this spiky red mullet, which he's still proud of, so it's not like I'm making fun of him. And I went to Rutgers soccer camp. Rutgers University, their men's soccer program had a soccer camp, and my mom said, "You want to go to goalkeeper camp or outfield player camp?" I was like, "I'll do both." So I did 2 weeks, and he was this crazy lunatic of a goalkeeper coach, and he had us jumping over barrels and trash cans, and it was the summer in New Jersey, so it was 148 degrees. It was terrible, and I just remember thinking, like, I kind of like this guy. There's something about him that I like, and I think he had the same feeling about me, and so there was an instant connection, and ever since that day, he's looked after me. It was 30 years ago. He's looked after me ever since, and I try and look after him every now and again too.
The ultimate Tim Howard champion. Where were you in your life at that moment? Who were you?
I was just a young soccer player. I think I was probably 10 years old. Just loving being outside, loving being with my friends. Loved soccer. My mom was like, pick a sport because you got to get out of the house. And I wanted to play soccer, and I loved it. I loved it ever since.
He brought you to MLS, to the Metro Stars.
Yeah.
That moment in your life, that move, you walk into a professional locker room, you think what?
Again, I had this ill-advised bravado that I thought I belonged, and this is what I always hoped and dreamed of. I say ill-advised at the time, but it was a confidence that I had.
Actually, it was maybe spot on.
Yeah, maybe so. But it was just confidence that I had in my own ability, and but kind of like this is what I wanted to do. This is the goal that I had for myself. Even though I didn't really know what goal setting was back then, it was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be, and this is a step in that process.
It was a non-traditional path, I think. To skip the college side, to go straight into the pros. Did you have to convince your mom? Did you have to do any convincing, or was this just, okay, hey, you want to go?
I think my mom was just, she knew how passionate I was. She had heard from different coaches that I was pretty good, and I think she was just like, I need you to be successful in something, and if you want to forego school and in soccer, well then do everything in your power to be successful. And so she was incredibly supportive, and she has been ever since.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was
Instincts
okay.
were not
Yes,
bad, huh?
yes, that's true.
Compare and contrast for me a little bit. MLS in those days, MLS now. What's changed? What's the same? What's different?
Impossible, right? It's night and day. The stadiums are are their own. Each team,
Yeah.
owns their own stadium, or even in the place like Seattle. I mean, for me, it's the best footballing environment that I've been in.
Ever?
Well, in MLS.
Okay, there we go.
MLS, yeah. And so again, they play in an American football stadium. So they make it their own. It's special. The fans have gotten more educated. They've gotten more passionate. They've grown in numbers. There's more money being spent by the league and by individual teams, which buys you quality and abundance. And so this league this league has changed so much. And I always talk about the passion, the rivalry of the fans. I love it. Back when I started in '98, it was like you'd go to, you name it. You go to an away city and everybody's your friend. They want your autograph. Now they hate you, and it's great. It's what it's supposed to look like. You go there, they support their team, they hate your team, they hate you because you play for your team and want to kick your butt. That's what you hope for as a player, and it's special that MLS now has that.
So Metro Stars to Manchester United, what a huge move, what a different sort of environment and a drop into cold water I have to expect for a young man. That first year for you was up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
You got into the starting lineup. Yeah. You have the Porto game. You win the FA Cup after that. What was it like for you mentally? Physically it's a challenge, but mentally, what was the biggest hurdle?
God, I wasn't ready for it mentally. I just think that I was going on raw emotion, raw energy, just getting out there and playing and being afraid to death to fail. I still am now, but it was way more then. I didn't know what I was doing, right? And I think there'll be a bunch of people at Man United in years to come to attest to that. But I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just get out there and whatever that looks like that you have to survive, my survival instincts kicked in and they served me well.
When you say you were afraid to fail, how did that manifest itself? Are those moments at home after training, dissecting every little thing that happened in a drill, or those after games?
No, it's just more so in the game. In the game, trying to figure it out on the fly. Trying to make saves and use my athleticism, knowing that I had to grow as a goalkeeper, but that wasn't going to happen overnight. And so it was okay, how do I figure this out and fix this now, right in the moment? And so, and then off the field was tough. I was newly married. It was a new country. There was a ton of pressure playing in the Premier League, let alone for Manchester United. So trying to figure out who I was, what that looked like, how I acted off the field. It was all a blur.
The high moments are one thing, but sometimes the low moments can define people and help them build and go forward.
Sure.
Porto, Champions League, how did that change your life, your career?
It's funny because at the time it was I look back and it's a bad mistake. At the time I don't remember feeling that way. I just remember thinking, gave up the rebound, tried to make the save, and obviously it had massive ramifications. But it was good. I think all of my success is built on my failures and my ability to persevere and push through and have broad shoulders and thick skin. And I'm pretty unflappable. There's nothing that can sway me one way or the other. And I think that there's all those little moments when you look back over the course of 21 years that allow you to be who you are today.
Have you talked to Zach Steffen at all about his impending move here? Going to Manchester City, but on loan before? Yeah,
we played Columbus about 2 weeks ago. And he and I chatted a little bit after the game. Obviously, I told him I want to come see him play. I'd love to see a home game, wherever he ends up. But regardless, I'd like to go see him in the offseason and watch. I think he's on a good trajectory. Obviously, goalkeeping's tough, and you can never tell the future. But, look, I think Zach is very similar to myself when I was young, just very confident. And I don't like to push my unsolicited advice on people. And so, Zach knows that if he needs anything, and I've told him that, wants a quiet conversation, grab a beer, grab a coffee. If he wants to yell and scream or pick my brain or none of the above.
Door's open.
Yeah, it's open, absolutely.
So goalkeeper union, always an interesting thing to me.
Yeah.
When you're not a member of it, you don't know about it. So that sounds like goalkeeper union stuff right there. What are the rules of the goalkeeper union? Unwritten, written?
The rule is there are no rules. But look, I just think I like Zach. I like him as a person. I think he's got an opportunity to be a very good goalkeeper. And I know the highs and the lows and the perils of that. And so it was just me being open and honest with him. Look, the rules of the goalkeeper union is that it's tough being a goalkeeper, and I think that is where the union stems from. Just kind of being able to sympathize with the other guy, knowing like, hey, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
It's been great and it's been tough, but I've been in your shoes, and so like, tread lightly, you know.
Everton,
Yeah.
how did it change your life?
Oof.
What are the things that when you're 70 years old will still just kind of like, this is a core of who I am and it was made during these years?
Everton is everything I am as a footballer, one, and a lot of what I am as a person and as a man. You know, the great David Moyes was instrumental. He's one of the probably 3 greatest men I've ever known in my life, and he had such a huge impact on me as a player, but also as a person, and made some of the best friends I've ever had in life there. My greatest footballing memories are there. It became a family. It really genuinely became my family and is my family. And again, when I walk away from Everton, I am a small piece of a fabric of that club, and like for me, that's the most special thing in the world.
So we've heard some, I don't know, chatter talk, theorizing recently from some high-profile folks, Brad Friedel among them, coming back to MLS from overseas, saying there's not enough pressure on players here. You know that pressure very well from being in that rabid soccer culture. Do you feel like there's enough pressure on players in MLS? Is that missing? Is there something we don't have that we need?
Sure. Well, look, I think that it's very hard to replicate promotion, relegation. You know, the fan base there and the audience abroad. It's hard to replicate that across the board. But I think the onus falls, when you come to MLS, the onus falls on the general managers and the coaches to get their player selection right. And you need to bring in players, draft players who are highly motivated individuals. And what I mean by that is, like, for me, when you scout players, it's all about the eye test for me. Yeah, I think the technical side of the game is important, but doing your homework on the eye test, bringing in people who are very, very highly competitive. We have a kid, Andre Shinashiki, this year, who we got at Denver, and he's brilliant. His desire to want, he's not 19 years old, 20 years old, his desire to want to win and to want to perform and to be hard on himself, like those are the players you want in MLS. And so, again, that due diligence has to be done by the coaches and the general managers.
A coaching general manager, is that anything in your future? Any thoughts to that?
Not coaching.
Not
No,
coaching.
Not coaching. It's too hard. It is. It's not, you know, you never sleep, you never stop. You can have the best season in the world. You know, Greg Vandy won a cup in Toronto. You know what he did 2 weeks later? Figured out how to trim the fat, get the team better for next year. Like, it's so difficult to be a coach. And my hat goes off to those guys. And yeah, not for me.
Who's the best American goalkeeper of all time? And if you're really bold, you could name yourself. But in your mind, top of the chart, number 1 is who?
Based on numbers or opinion?
Opinion. This is all you, man. Eye test.
Well, I think opinion.
You can have a favorite.
Opinion doesn't matter. I think numbers tell you who the best is.
Who's that then? For you? Yeah? 121? Caps?
There's a lot of caps there.
I feel that, man.
Yeah.
All right, I feel you. When you look at the crew right now of Americans, there's a school of thought that says this is not as good as it used to be. Do you agree with that?
Goalkeeping wise.
Goalkeeping wise.
Yeah, look, time will tell. I mean, I think it's probably a backhanded way of saying MLS got better, and here's why. The opportunities weren't there for a lot of my predecessors, right? So everyone had to go to Europe and make it. And so there was just kind of this pipeline that went to Europe. And a lot of people think, well, when you go to Europe, you must be a better goalkeeper. And I think what MLS has done is it's gotten so much better that it's allowed to keep our really talented goalkeepers home, playing games, getting better, developing. And so I don't necessarily agree with that. Again, the proof's in the pudding. These goalkeepers have to go out and perform and do it over 100 games. You know, Casey Keller, he used to say something to me that it stuck with me forever. And he said, look, I don't think you can judge a goalkeeper until they've played 100 to 200 games. That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
But what he's basically saying was, like, if you look across the board, how many goalkeepers start off as gangbusters and they're really good and the potential's great and make a few good saves, and then further down the line they're nowhere to be found. And he's right when he says that. Like, you have to give it time.
So let's talk U.S. national team.
Yeah.
You have 121 games to choose from. What's the most memorable to you?
So many. To be honest, I think I talked about this before. My first game, you know, it was in Birmingham, Alabama against Ecuador. Never played in Birmingham before that or since, but it was special. It was like, you know, that was the first step in a long line of what was to come. And it was like, you always dreamed of that moment. Any player who plays soccer only dreams of one particular moment, and that is playing for their national team. And so for that to kind of happen, and my mom to be there, it was 2002, and again, didn't really know what I was doing, just kind of out there, feeling like I belonged, and get a clean sheet against a team like that was special.
There's some big games for you. I think of Spain in Confederations Cup, obviously Belgium. I was there. It was an incredible performance. Shep Messing told a very interesting story on a Red Bulls broadcast recently that you perhaps weren't going to start that game, that he says the assistant coaches had to convince Jurgen to put you onto the field. Is that any truth to that story? Look,
I think for the last 21 years, well, certainly the latter part of 21 years, people have been trying to make a name off me, and I've seen it. I think I've not seen the broadcast. I've heard it from some people who are infuriated. I think Shep Messing should probably do a better job of checking his sources. I would be very hard pressed to believe that after getting out of a group of death and playing as well as I played personally, but as great as the team played, that any coach in their right mind would make a change there. But again, unless you hear it from the horse's mouth, who knows?
What's the state of the national team right now, in your mind?
It's good. It's tough because we really haven't had a challenge yet. The challenge is coming, this month. And so the state, I think, is good. We've got the right coach in place, and Greg Berhalter. Tactically, his system is intricate, but clearly it works. We've seen that with the Columbus Crew. The players, I think the players are outstanding. I think there's some really, really good young talent there who are playing big minutes, whether it be MLS or around the world, particularly in Champions League. So they should be ready for the big test. So it's coming. I think they're ready. Again, I'm as big a fan of the U.S. national team as there is. So looking forward to it. But I genuinely think, look, the last two results in the build-up, the two losses, those always hurt, and they open themselves up for criticism. But that's part of the game. Look, I think that when they get out of the group stage in the Gold Cup and then run the gauntlet, hopefully in the final, hopefully against Mexico, because I want to be there. But when those things happen, then we'll be able to kind of really figure out where the dust has settled.
You're a guy that doesn't seem like he has a ton of regrets, but I'm going to ask if you'd like to change history. If you have one opportunity, a goal that was scored against you, could be any goal, any game, you can go into the sands of time and pluck that right out, and it's either going over the top, you're saving it, it's hit the post, whatever. It's not going in. That's not happening, and whatever happened because of it no longer exists. What goal would you pull out?
One of the two Belgium goals. I think we go to penalties, I think we win, and then get to play Argentina, and then we'd be messed. Oh, no, that would have been, I think our performance on the night playing against, we obviously know a really, really incredibly talented Belgium team. Like for the U.S., that would have been epic.
Would have been incredible.
It would have been.
The last 5 games for Rapids have been incredible. What changed, man? What happened? I'm on the bandwagon.
Right, I am too. I am too. I don't know. Soccer's funny, we've winning in football changes everything, right? Like I think when you play Saturday, then you play the following Saturday. And if you lose one Saturday, you literally feel like you're a high school team. And if you win the following Saturday, you feel like Barcelona or Brazil. And so it's really weird. And we got this for us, a really incredible win at LA. 1-0, backs to the wall, got the goal, felt like we were the better team in certain parts of the game. And like ever since then, we've just kind of kicked on. And we hadn't had that feeling in what felt like forever. So, but it was also it was nice to get a couple wins at home as well. Our fans have been more than deserving. They've been brilliant. And so that's been special for us that they could share in that and that we can kind of keep it rolling.
One more for you. And maybe I'm reading between the lines too much.
Sure.
Maybe I'm parsing the language. But when I see all the announcements, I see this is my final season in MLS. Does that mean we could see you elsewhere? I mean, I'm thinking about somebody who might have a home in Tennessee, who might be a part owner of Memphis 901,
absolutely.
who could potentially be a big piece of a USL team.
Yeah, look, I'm done with football. The headline should say football. If they say MLS, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I'm done.
Done?
I'm done. I'm looking forward to retirement. I'm looking forward to doing, being the owner. I'm the owner now, and I'm making calls all the time. But it'd be nice to be hands-on, be there in the office every day. I enjoy broadcasting. I enjoy being in front of the camera with my crew, and it gets me out of bed in the morning. I get excited about it, Obviously, some unfinished business here for the rest of 2019, but yeah, I'm excited.
Playoffs within reach. Tim Howard, 500-some games as a pro, 121 caps. What a career, man.
Yeah, it's been, it's been great. It really has. Playoffs, I think, are in reach. The way this is, I always feel like the summer months in MLS define you.
Yep.
And I could name teams on the other side of it. I could name Seattle, who decides they're not going to win a game for 9, 10 games, and then they run the table every year.
3 good months, and you could be
crazy.
right there, man.
Now, that's not them this year. They're brilliant. But, so anything can happen. In this last month and a half has really helped us feel like we believe in something that wasn't there a couple months ago. So, yeah.
Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for everything you've done for the U.S.
Appreciate
and
it.
elsewhere. Thanks, Tim. Big thanks to Tim for stopping by the AT&T MLS studios and sitting down. He is an intimidatingly good-looking man. I'm just going to say it. I had to put on the blazer, 2 blazers for the first time on Extra Time. We're going to stick to our soul, though, and stick with the T-shirts. And I don't know what you're wearing, but the people on YouTube can judge that for themselves. U.S. Open Cup back this week. MLS back in a truncated version at the weekend. The 5th round is here. Dave, you are the voice of the U.S. Open Cup, or one of the voices.
I will be on DC United NYCFC with U.S. Women's National Team legend Lori Lindsay, as well as Portland Timbers hosting the LA Galaxy.
Ooh. That's a prime one. You got a good
both
one
on
there.
Wednesday night.
We had some folks email in and say Zlatan should be forced to play in all Open Cup games, and they're wrong about that.
For sure.
What are we looking for in the 5th round? Can you predict the semis for me? Because that's where we're at right now. Is like trying to figure out who the favorites are. Who's gonna care? To be honest with you,
I'm gonna say Atlanta as one of them. They've got Columbus in this game. They played a strong team against Charleston, and if they win, they'd go up against the winner of St. Louis FC Cincinnati, which is as good a draw I think as you can get. On the flip side, I'm going to say FC Dallas taking on New Mexico at home, and then they would probably play Houston in the quarterfinal, which would be an awesome one. But I think they have a deeper roster right now that they can use because a lot of teams are missing guys for international duty. You can only use 5 international spots in an Open Cup game. So when you have teams that have good academies or good, deeper rosters of Americans, that really helps. So I'm going to say them, and then I'm going to say the Portland Timbers. They basically played their best team against Seattle. They have to beat the Galaxy, and then they probably have to face off against LAFC. It's not easy for anyone in that part of the region, or that part of the draw, but when you look at what they did against Seattle, the team they put out there, I think that they have as strong a side as anyone. And then I'm going to go with the Revs.
Really?
I'm going to take that little Bruce Arena juice. I'm going to believe in it.
I was going to go NYCFC because I thought they were attacking
NYCFC has 15 healthy players coming to this game. They started Tony.
I think 3 defenders?
They got Maxime Chenot back.
Okay.
But they lost Tony Rocha, who isn't even a defender, to injury. So
Minnesota United would tell you that too.
Yeah, so they're probably going to play Juan Pablo Torres at left back and Anton Tinnerholm at right back. It's tough uphill sledding right now for NYCFC. I think they believe in the group they have. I think Dome is really happy with the ability to fit a lot of these guys in who haven't gotten playing time. But to beat DC on the road and then have to beat New England or Orlando, let's say it's tough. New England. It's not an easy run, especially when you've got games going around. And they've played the least MLS games, so they've got like a heavier schedule on MLS coming up as well.
ESPN Plus is your home of the U.S. Open Cup coverage, MLSsoccer.com.
All 4 of those picks will be wrong.
Yeah, definitely watch Dave's games. He's been great there. Let's get to the mailbag. Jake from D.C., who's had some really good stuff for us. To Dave, I've recently become a hummus eater. On a recent trip to the grocery store, I saw some vanilla bean hummus. Is this acceptable or a travesty?
I almost vomited. I almost just threw up. That's disgusting. No.
Okay, travesty.
Don't get any flavors in your hummus. Don't give me lemon
I can't even
or garlic
really?
or
I can't
red
even get,
pepper
like, everything
or
bagel.
artichoke.
Gatekeeper, man. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy.
We got to cut that off before it gets real serious here. You guys have been going back and forth.
Lay you out.
The Toronto Duck.
There's I get an everything hummus.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Stuff,
I like everything
man.
bagels. I like it in my hummus. It all works out.
You eat
Whoa.
hummus like the guy from Wichita. That's what's happening right now. That's what just happened.
Fair. How does
you just owned yourself.
The Toronto Duck, before we get out of here, how does current Vela compare to prime Giovinco? How's it compare?
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good comparison. Prime Giovinco is the best player I've ever seen in Major League Soccer. Current Vela, I don't know. He'd have to do it for like 2 years. Giovinco did it for 2 years.
His 2015 and 2016 seasons were
Yep.
amazing.
Style of play, though, Matt. How similar, how different?
Vela's more at speed.
Yeah.
And Giovinco was more the best with the ball we've ever seen. Could strike it with either foot from anywhere or play the pass with either foot from anywhere.
He could. The difference is it all had to run through Giovinco. This is why when he was in Italy, he was considered a Juventus-level talent, but Juventus never really used him because he could never play on the periphery of the action. It all had to be going through him. So when he played, I think it was with Parma, he was awesome.
1 year.
Because they were like, all right, he's our best player, and he scored 20 goals in Serie A. But like it was either everything or nothing. And I feel like Vela's just a little bit more flexible. Like he's obviously getting a ton of the ball. He's creating a ton of chances, scoring a ton of goals, taking a ton of shots, all of that, but they don't need it to all run through him. And that flexibility combined with the at-speed aspect of it, I think he's just a little bit more complete right now.
We're probably going to see Vela in the Open Cup, you would assume? He was in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see about that midweek here, and then MLS is back at the weekend, so that's a nice thing as well. Club and Country before and after that U.S. game against Guyana on Tuesday night. The game's at 10 p.m. Eastern. We will be here before breaking it all down in the studio, so tune in pre and post. Thank you to Tim Howard. Thank you to the Total Soccer Show, Daryl and Taylor. Thank you to you for listening. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody.
Eat your hummus however you want to.